Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we've got playa props here for you guys on a Friday night. Plenty to choose from in an 11-game slate. Although we do have guys coming in and out of the lineups, you definitely want to make sure to stay on those injury reports with just a couple games left in the season. Some teams have it locked up, etc. So we are taking all that into consideration for you guys as we bring you these player props here. Also have another best bets video up for you for all the other games for the day. So make sure to like and subscribe. Check out all the other content we have up for you guys. Also head to thelines.com. We got plenty of great stuff on the site right now. All the NBA stuff down the stretch here, as we're also going to get into the play-in tournament next week. Have plenty of Masters coverage up there, so a lot to look for on thelines.com right now. Also have our odds finder tool. You can use that to make sure you're getting the best odds available to you as you're making all these bets in the NBA this season. Nate, let's run through these play props for everyone and jump into your first one right now.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about fading the Knicks offense because they just went off against the Pacers. So, I mean, if you are worried about that, let's just attack the Pacers defense again with Jaden Ivey and the Pistons. He's going to be at the controls here. Yeah, and I think the assists is where you go. 7.5 assists at plus 108 on FanDuel for Ivey. Where he's averaging 8.1 dimes along with 23 points in his last 7. He has 8+ in 5 of those 7. The exceptions being against Orlando and Miami, exactly the type of teams you would expect to limit a point guard getting assists. And then you look at Indy, they're dead last. They're allowing 130 points per game in their last 7, allowing 34.5 points per game to point guards, allowing 28 assists per game to all positions. That's 4th most, and they're 6th worst in 3-point percentage as well. You can get some good odds on Ivy to hit 3 threes here. But I really just think it's going to be him. He has the ball in his hands so much. That's why he has 4+ turnovers in all 7 of these last games. But we're not betting on that. We're just betting on him getting the dimes as he just runs the offense against, and just basically what is it, like an all-rookie team. It's the Rising Stars matchup here, Detroit and Indiana.
We could have a total trivia contest between this game and like the Blazers Spurs last night, and it's like anybody who can name 5 players from each of these teams, wins some sort of trivia, because it is tank season, my friend. So I would agree. This is a perfect type of bet to make in the second to last game of the season for a team like the Pistons playing a team like the Pacers. Is who's the young guy that they care about still, who's just got the green light whenever he's out there, because he's the only guy that's probably out there that has a legitimate future with the team right now, and that is Jaden Ivey. So I do like it. The points are a little bit high at 21.5, but I honestly think this total at 231 is low, regardless of who does or doesn't play. I mean, you're going to have some Benny Matts out there. You're going to have Jaden Ivey, Neesmith, plenty of guys that can get the ball up into the basket. And so I think Ivy to get the assist in there is good. Jaden Ivey to get the assist in there is a pretty good bet. And I would throw the rebounds in there as well, as he's been playing really well from that position all over the floor as well. So let's move on to that Suns and the Kings and the Warriors game in that Pacific Division. Draymond Green, Day. I like the points. I like the rebounds and I like the assists. I would really go anywhere with him. Right now, the best odds, definitely the juice you get back for the rebounds and assists on FanDuel is the best, 14.5 rebounds and assists if you take that over. Also like the steals that you talked about, because it's got really great odds on Caesars for him to get 2 steals or more is plus 178 on Caesar Sportsbook. So I kind of like that one as well. And this is a little bit of we mentioned it, when you were talking about your pick there with these 2 teams and the way that the Kings can probably cover. But we still mentioned how like Draymond, it's a little bit of a big brother, little brother matchup. It still is, even though, the Kings are a better team and going to win the division right now, and have lost 2 of 3 this year to the Dubs so far. Those were on the road. Now they're back in Sacramento. And either way, Draymond Green playing against this team in a situation where I still think they need to win. They need to avoid falling back into the play-in with the Lakers probably being able to beat the Suns if they rest everybody tonight. So, Draymond playing against the Kings with motivation, I really like. In his last 7, 10 points a game, 8 boards and 8 assists. He's a plus 74 in 32 minutes a game in that time. I think he really likes playing against his former teammate, Harrison Barnes, as well. Harrison actually has not been very good on defense, which is surprising for him, as he's been a pretty solid defender since he came in the league. But this year, the Kings are allowing the most points per game, the most assists per game to power forwards, the 7th most points per game to power forwards, and I am blaming you, HB, and a combination of the alligator-armed Sabonis as well, who probably won't even be in there, but to take some of those rebounds away from Draymond. But yeah, if you look at what he's done at home in his last couple, where he's sort of like big broed these people, if you will, on NOLA, really taking advantage of like BI's sort of smaller frame there. He had 8 points, 6 boards, 13 assists, and 2 steals versus NOLA. And then versus OKC, also at home, 17 points, 9 boards, 5 assists, 2 steals once again. And then you just for comparison, right? Like his most recent game on the road versus Denver, and it was Denver's backups for the most part, only had 4 points, 9 boards, and 7 assists in 37 minutes there, but still got the rebounds and assists in there. The points, obviously, a little bit more expected at home for Draymond, which is kind of the case for most of the dubs this year, which is why I also don't mind the fact that it's 8.5 on DraftKings for him, and you can get him to get 9 points, which is basically what he's averaging at home, a tick below it as well. So I think based on playing this Sacramento defense and this porous team down low that gives up points and rebounds everywhere around the rim, this is a pretty good opportunity for Draymond to sort of come in, seal the deal for this Warriors team and get them into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, 30.3 assists per game allowed at home for the Kings. That is by far the most since the All-Star break. So I might just look straight up at the assists here. I mean, they're 29th in defensive rating at home are the Kings. If there are backups out there, even if Mike Brown knows the kind of actions that Draymond and the Warriors are trying to run, who knows if those young guys are going to be able to sniff it out and execute defensively. I mean, it's not like the Kings have been executing anything defensively. So I think the assists is really what we lean on when we look at 14.5 rebounds, assists. The rebounds, he'll get a few for sure in a fast-paced game. But you might want to look at just the alternate total for the assists and see if you can get some even more juice on that and hope the game stays close. The Pelicans at home in a big game here, and they continue to lean on Trey Murphy in his second year here. He's actually played 40 minutes per game in his last 5. So the last time he faced the Knicks, he was coming off the bench and played a minimal role, 11 points in a blowout loss. But since then, he's been a huge factor. 17 straight double-digit outings. That's 20 points per game, hitting 46% of his threes, hitting 4 per game. And if you look at home in that span, 21.5 points per game, shooting 49% from 3. Higher usage rate as well. The Knicks are actually dead last in opponents' three-point percentage over their last 7 here. I know we talked about it in the game video, waffling, like, do I like the Knicks under? I am fading their offense a little bit. Look, I just like the Pelicans to win this game. I mean, obviously they're -8, so it's expected. The game means much, much more for them. But I think you look at Trey Murphy being a part of that and getting over 16.5 points, which is -118 at FanDuel. Also pretty good odds for him to get 4 boards or 2 steals. And it's just like following the minutes. Like I said, like 40 minutes per game in his last 5 here, nearly 2 steals along with 20 points per game. And the Knicks, with their guys out there, just like mostly young guys. Quentin Grimes is a pretty good defender who will match up against Trey Murphy, but he's been feeling himself at home, and he's been shooting the ball well. And the Knicks, like I said, because of that 3-point percentage, are allowing the 4th most points per game to shooting guards in their last 7.
Yeah, it's a good bet for Trey tonight. I think he's going to be a bit of a matchup problem for sure for this team. He's been a matchup problem for a while with his length and athleticism, plus obviously that 3-point shooting out there. But the defense as well, I think that's what we're talking about when we pick up on this Knicks and Pellies game. And if you do want to ride with Nate on the under for the Knicks from the other video, I still think there's an opportunity for plenty of points to be scored for the Pellies, because this is not going to be the best defensive Knicks team that they are going to throw out there at this point. Evan Fournier is getting minutes right now, if that lets you know where the Knicks are at. And if he is ever on Trey Murphy, go ahead and live bet Trey Murphy to score the next bucket or something, because that feels like a pretty safe play for the Pellies there. Let's finish the show with an OG friend of the show, Mykhailiuk. The last time we talked about Svi, he was on the Pistons. Now he's on the just as bad Charlotte Hornets, maybe slightly better than the Pistons right now, but he is returning to our show here with, I'm going to talk about the 4.5 assists for Svi, although the points are at 16.5, and that's right around what he's been averaging since he started getting minutes, because Svi is now the starting point guard for the Charlotte Hornets for indefinitely, let's say, because there's 2 games left in the season. And once again, everybody's out for Charlotte. Even if Gordon Hayward was available to play, he's not, nor is PJ Washington or anybody else that you actually have heard of on this team. If you heard of JT Thor, though. He's playing tonight. And I do like Svi to get the assist in this one. If you look at the last 7, he's up to 34 minutes a game. 16, that's when he started playing, right? And it got inserted into the starting lineup as the point guard when they took Terry out for good. And then, at this point, 16 points a game, about 5 assists and 3.5 boards per game in the last 7. But I think he was getting his feet under him, because if you look at the last 4, including 2 against Toronto, which is still one of the better defenses, especially at home, last 4, 19 points a game and 6.5 assists in that time. So the fact that his assist prop is at 4.5 and you're getting plus 125 for him to get 5 here when he's gotten at least 6 in his last 4 games, I feel really good about that. Houston is a very bad defense, as we know. They allow the most points per game and assists per game to point guards on the season. And you could chop that up into the last 7 games, last 15 games, last 30 games. They're always the worst against point guards, allowing points and assists. And they're just the second overall worst defense in the league probably this year, if not the worst. I mean, the Pacers have been brutal, but this Houston D is the second worst defensive rating in the last 7, bottom 5 on the season. They allow the most assists per game overall, regardless of who's giving that to them. So I just don't believe in the Rockets at all, and I definitely believe in our boy Svi to be able to get 5 assists tonight and get us plus money on that.
Dennis Smith Jr. is questionable, so it's not everybody out for Charlotte. I guess you would worry a little bit about him being the point guard. I know you're just psyched to talk about Svi and pump him up, but I honestly think he can still get his points and assists combined, even if Smith Jr.'s and he slots over to that shooting guard role. Because Houston, Charlotte, God bless the NBA for making us talk about this on the last Friday of the season. Can't wait for the playing game, guys. We'll see you on Tuesday for that.
We definitely will. Adam, Mr. Silver, please just make this season 72 games. We don't need this more. We don't need to be talking about this at the end of March and into early April. But Svi, yes, great point. Once again, stay on thelines.com. Check out those injury reports, man. Get the alerts if you need them, because if Dennis Smith Jr. plays in this game and we start to get props for him, I actually do like him as well. But whatever point guard you want to take against this Rockets team, you just got to know who's playing for sure. So that is all the time we have for you in this one. The next time we see you guys, we will be talking about some postseason-ish basketball. It'll be play-in, whatever you want to call that. And then we do jump into the playoffs next week, and we are coming at you guys with the ferocity as we bring all these picks in the playoffs. So continue to follow along, like and subscribe, check out thelines.com, and until we see you next, happy betting.